The Dallas Cowboys are going to have some tough decisions to make, and that's all because they're in a spot that they haven't been in a long time. Plus, no matter how you swing it, it's all about Dak Prescott. We'll get into all of that in a moment, but first, this. One of the biggest issues that's plagued the Cowboys over the last decade has been their lack of depth. Anytime they've had injuries in certain positions, they've really been in a tough spot, and they've had to basically walk guys off the street to play meaningful roles for this team. We all remember Ernie Sims and Brady Papinga. These are just recent examples of guys that weren't on a roster when the season started and then were needed to play meaningful snaps for the Cowboys once they had players lost to injury. Well, that's not the case for the 2019 Dallas Cowboys. They have depth everywhere, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Guys like Taco Charlton are starting to finally make plays. Kerry Hyder, who is a guy that they picked up, a flyer on this offseason, who's been arguably their third best pass rusher. He's also a guy that makes Tyrone Crawford potentially dispensable because he really has done a good job in rushing from the inside. Last year, Anthony Brown ran away from Jordan Lewis when it came to competing for that nickelback spot. Now they're in a heated competition for that spot. One thing I know for sure, the Cowboys will have a top 5 defense this season, and beyond that, they've got great depth to back up these great playmakers that they have across the board. This defense is going to be relentless. So when you look at the fundamental composition of this roster, this is a team that is built to win with a ground and pound game and on the defensive side of the ball. That's how they're built to win. We also saw this past season that having a good defense only gets you so far. Now, maybe that's an aberration. It's not exactly the rule, but you do have to have a good running game just as you have to have a good defense. But it's really about how good your defense is in certain moments of a game, how good your running game is in certain moments of a game, as opposed to being statistically a top 5 or top 10 rushing team or top 5, top 10 defense. Take it with a grain of salt. The Cowboys are built to win a certain way, and they're not going to reinvent the wheel based on trends in the current NFL. I understand that. Even though I disagree with it, I understand that. Can the Cowboys win a Super Bowl being built the way that they are? Sure, of course. You can win a Super Bowl in any way, in a multitude of ways. But that seems to be the exception and not the rule. The rule, at least in modern history, suggests in the last decade you have to have an elite passing offense in order to win a Super Bowl. Now, getting there and winning are two different things. They're going to take a multifaceted role. When you say that they have to have an elite passing offense, it doesn't necessarily mean that they can't have an elite rushing offense. I would be shocked, absolutely shocked, if Zeke Elliott weren't with this football team week 1. So let's proceed as though the assumption is that Zeke Elliott will be there. Think for a moment. Who was the last feature running back that carried their team to a Super Bowl championship? Terrell Davis? In the 90s? I mean, certainly you can think of Sony Michel in the way that he played in the playoffs, but again, that is a high-powered passing offense that Tom Brady presides over with Josh McDaniels in New England. So it's not exactly the exception, but the rule itself. It's about high-powered passing offenses. So this leads us back to the most important point here, which is either Dak Prescott is or he isn't a Super Bowl caliber quarterback. Because 9 times out of 10, you're going to win a Super Bowl based on the strength of your passer. Because over the course of a playoff, you are going to be tested and challenged in your best ways. Meaning you have to become comfortable being uncomfortable. You have to be a chameleon. You have to be able to win when an opposing defense takes away your strength. That's what teams are going to do when the Cowboys get to the playoffs. They're going to take away Zeke Elliott. They're going to take away Tony Pollard. They're going to take away the Cowboys' ability to dictate the terms with running the football. The thing that's standing in the way of the Cowboys winning in the playoffs consistently is their ability to win outside their comfort zone. That's how you win in the playoffs. And it doesn't really matter what sport you're talking about. If you can expose the opposition for trying to take advantage of your deficiencies, you're going to win. Now, when it comes to Dak Prescott's contract, I'm not sure. Because if he does want $35 to $40 million over the course of the deal, when the Cowboys can play it coy, they can let him prove it this season, and worst case scenario, franchise tag him to the tune of $32 million next year while negotiating throughout the offseason on a long-term deal. If Dak Prescott proves his ability to lift this team on his shoulders and win playoff games, then that's all the negotiation you need.